Welcome back to Shoujo. We're fresh off the victory of Angelic Layer's conclusion, and now we're transitioning into what the show was supposed to cover, Shoujo. And this is this series we're going to be covering today, Kimi Ni Todoke. It is just Shoujo to the max. Sparkles everywhere, blushing, all the stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm Sarah. With me is Joe, our shoujo novice.
Hello.
And I'm interested to see how this will go. Last weekend, I was there visiting Joe in his
apartment?
Ohio.
Where I live?
Ohio is that
The state of Ohio I live in?
Yes. I don't want our rabid fans to start trying to look for you.
Yeah, don't dox me on the podcast, thank you.
But yeah, so we watched the first 2 episodes of this together just for fun, and then went back and rewatched the first 3 and took notes, and that's what we're going to
Well, it's a rewatch for you. I watched it for the first time.
Yes, I've watched seasons 1 and 2, and I have the first 2 volumes of the manga, and I have this will be like my 3rd rewatch of it, because I have rewatched it in the past just because it's so good and just cleansing of the soul, which I need. Yeah, so
okay.
What?
Does this cleanse you? Is this the feeling you get? I get a different feeling from this.
We'll get into it. Before we get into it, though, what have you been up to in the meantime since I last saw you, Joe?
I finished Super Dimensional Fortress Macross.
Ooh.
I've been watching it, and I finished it, and I got to the end.
The second end.
The second end. Like, sometimes you write a show and it's 28 episodes, and then you get to the end and they're like, hey, make 8 more episodes, and you do. And like, maybe you should have just ended at the 28 episode and not made those extra episodes. Because they're just not that good.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of cool shots, there's cool things that happen in them, but the fact that you resolved everything at the end of 28 episodes in like a very satisfying way, and then have to backtrack on all the relationship stuff just to like rehash it out, is not the makings of good television, particularly.
Nope.
Yeah, they have to make each Joe, like the main guy, be so stupid to be like, oh, I didn't understand, I'm in a love triangle. Oh, I have to walk back the decisions I made earlier. It's just kind of a mess. I mean, it's like nice that you get more of the characters that I like, but also the conflict is very...
Let it end in a graceful way.
Yeah, it's just like, it does not compare at all to the end of the original in terms of like scale or satisfaction. But it was still good. I mean, Macross overall, extremely good. Extremely good mech show, mech anime.
Nice.
There's a couple more movies they have. They have a movie that's, I think it's supposed to be just like a kind of like a recap-y kind of thing, but It is a movie that takes place in universe. So that's pretty fun. I'll probably watch that. And then there's a couple more Macross things that I'll probably get to at a certain point. But I am finished with the main story of Macross for now.
Gotcha. Sweet.
So that's. I also watched the Cowboy Bebop movie with some friends, which I hadn't seen in a while, and it's good to revisit it. Good Halloween movie.
It.
You didn't the Cowboy Bebop or just the movie?
Cowboy Bebop, the show.
The show? Yeah. Oh, it's so good though.
It's fine.
Wow.
It wasn't. I don't know. I'm not hip enough to love it. Or it's basic. It's
a
basic anime. Whatever. I guess it's classic, whatever. People like it. The tank opening, yada, yada, yada.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was fine. It was whatever.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I don't support
Sure. We don't all have to like it.
That
I think it's great. Oh my god. You're such a cop. You're the worst cop ever.
Oh, man. Yes.
Wow.
What have I been up to?
I don't want to hear about this at all anymore, Joe. What am I doing?
Let's see. Yeah, I got home. I was unpacking my suitcase, like bent over, and then my back, like super intense pain, and I like kind of crumpled to the floor, and I was like, damn.
Oh my god.
This has happened before. This just happens every couple years, maybe. Where it just like super hurts and I like can't bend over and I just rest. So it's like a little tender still, but it'll get better eventually. What?
Is it something we did? I don't
know.
We didn't do anything that was like extremely strenuous.
No, it just, I don't know. I did 50 crunches. That did me in.
You did lose at the poem game, and
yeah, we played Carta. And the loser had to do 50 crunches, of which I knew I was going to lose. I should have set a lower penalty for losing, but I did it. And Joe's saying because I said, oh, my physical therapist I went to a few times, but then didn't want to pay for it because it is stuff that I could do for free, but I don't do it. Joe said I should be doing those things.
You can't just be like, I could cost save by just doing this myself and then not do it yourself.
I am saving money.
But you're not doing it.
No. Well, now I have you to check in and pressure. But I couldn't this week because my back hurt. So I didn't do that. But the other thing that we said that I need to work on, which is socializing, I did something about. And I'm not talking about hanging out with my grandma.
Okay. I was a little worried there.
No. I'll have you know, I went on a date, I guess.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, it was nice. Too bad he's allergic to cats and I have a cat, so that's probably not happening. But it was a nice night. It was a nice evening. We went to a karaoke bar and I signed up to sing, but the line was so long that it was like super late. So I was like, forget it. What song was like? I was gonna sing "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer, because I used to sing that on Karaoke Revolution on my Xbox as a kid a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't get booed off stage in that game.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, see, look at me going out.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Charming as hell. Yeah. Willing to do karaoke.
Yeah.
Just not getting the chance.
That's always the risk.
Uh-huh.
Did you watch any anime?
I watched Kimi Ni Todoke.
Okay. I'm glad you did some of those things.
Yeah, I'll talk about something else I watched as my recommendation later because I can prepare this time. Yeah, so that's what we've been up to. Now we're going to get into Kimi Ni Todoke. From me to you, a slice of life, school life, freaking romance, just sweet and endearing series. And we're going to go through episodes 1 through 3, which we're going to do, I guess, the format a little more loose. We're cutting loose. We're doing a different, slightly less structured format, I think. But
listen, if I was going to do the same format that I did for Angelic Layer, this would be impossible. I'd be like giving you shot by shot.
Yeah,
like, here's everything that's happening. Here's what everybody says I can't do that. So
essentially reenact the whole episode.
Yeah, like instead I just have bullet points essentially of like the scenes that happen. Still have a lot of fucking bullet points. This does not save me any time doing it this way, if you were wondering. It is the same amount of work. This is extremely hard to summarize.
Oopsie.
But yeah, so episode 1 is called Prologue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just the basic 1 paragraph summary of the episode, and then we'll go through it like scene by scene more or less. And we can just comment on it how we go. So basically in this first episode, we are introduced to the main character whose name is Sawako. Her whole deal is she is like a lot of social anxiety and also is just kind of awkward and weird. So she does not have very many friends. And also, she is kind of tall and has a haircut that's very similar to the girl from The Ring, whose name is Sadako. So her name is even similar, so everybody, makes fun of her for being creepy and being able to, curse people and stuff like that. And that's what she's got going on. She does not like this. She seems somewhat aware that this happens and is trying to change her perception of herself towards everybody else. Anyway, she likes this guy named Kazehaya, who is a generally nice boy who is personable and likes to involve people. So he will talk to shy people. So he talks to her, etc. That's the main romance thing that's going on. In this episode, they have a thing called a bravery competition, which is how do I describe this?
So it's essentially a test of courage is a staple of school life as a student where you get paired off randomly and then you have to go walk together basically at night through some spooky things. Sometimes it's a cave, sometimes it's woods, but
it's a little cheap haunted house kind of deal.
Yeah, for free.
And Sawako has to pretend to be Sadako, the ring girl, and scare everybody off, which she agrees to because she wants to impress everybody. And then she ends up hanging with this guy, and they become friends by the end of the episode. So we open on a bunch of girls talking about how Sawako is scary, just like in generic terms, right? So like, you know, her friend gets caught, like one of her friend caught a cold after like staring at her for too long, or something like that. Like it's goofy stuff like this.
Yeah, essentially she's like a school legend, but she's an active student. Like, oh, if you go, you know, like there's always school myths of like, oh, if you go here and, you know, whatever, so and so, the ghost will appear, something like that. But she's just straight up there having to listen to everyone talk about her like she's not, you know, peer of theirs.
It's really weird.
You know what I have a problem with?
What?
It's fine that she has the longer skirt, because typically I think it's like you get a essentially knee-length skirt, and then most girls just roll it up because they want to have little mini skirts going on to be cute or whatever. Sawako just has hers left normal, but her shirt's not tucked in. It's so unflattering. She needs to tuck that shirt in. God damn it.
Yeah, well, she needs to do a lot of stuff.
Yes, we'll give her fashion tips along the way.
Anyway, so like, yeah, so they're like gossiping about her. Her whole thing is like, she appears behind them because she's like, oh, you dropped your pin, but she doesn't like a creepy way because she like...
Not intentionally. She's well-meaning.
Not intentionally.
Just, you know, gives
she has
off...
like a thing where like if she doesn't tense her face, then like she'll...
Essentially... She's not
freak out.
She's not very expressive naturally, so she's like trying to parrot what she knows people are supposed to do with their faces, but like it just comes off as stiff and creepy.
Yeah. I relate to this. It's pretty good. I don't like smile naturally very well. So
yeah,
it's pretty,
people
I get
think
it.
You hate them when they first meet you.
That's just you. I
did a consensus amongst the girls we hung out with in high school, and they all thought the same thing. I'll have you know.
All right. Anyway, she's all sad because she's like, well, everybody calls me Sadako, but my name's Sawako, and my name means pleasant child, which she's not.
No.
She's not a pleasant child. She gives like a whole background on her situation where she's like, oh, for some reason, everyone's afraid of me. And also everybody thinks I can see ghosts, so I feel like I'm disappointing them when I can't.
It's just so funny. She feels like responsible for living up to their expectations of her.
Yeah, she just wants to fit in and be friends with everybody, basically.
Yeah.
So that's the setup. More or less. She tries to greet people in the morning, but she like sucks at it. But she doesn't really realize she sucks at it.
She's like self-congratulating, like, you did it. You said hi. Go.
Yeah.
It's me.
It's the most like I gotta hype myself up to like do
interact
a phone call
like a normal human
or something, you know what I mean? Or like send an email. She sees Kazehaya, who's a boy she likes because he is friendly and nice.
Okay,
and he also treats her like everyone else.
Clear something up. She admires him.
Oh
she doesn't like consciously...
This whole show is going to be clearing this up.
Know that she likes him.
Uh-huh.
It kind of is obvious that he's interested in her, at least getting to know her. And she's just like, oh, he's just doing it because he's so nice and he does this with anyone. But he does have like a particular interest in her. Because they show a flashback of when it's the high school entrance ceremony when they first meet because he's lost and she gives her directions. And he just does the simple thing of saying thank you. And that like brings her tears of joy because someone like thanked her and didn't run away after seeing her. So that was their first meeting. And so she's just like been observing him since then. So she's probably just building this whole thing in her head, right? Because she says like, oh, he's just like has a constant circle of people around him because people are just drawn to him. And I'm lucky I'm in any kind of proximity to him, kind of.
Yeah, she's like very envious of how he is able to have friends and be sociable.
Yes, he is her role model.
Yeah, we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The setting's in a Hokkaido, which I think discussed a little bit in last episode, but it's like country.
Uh-huh.
And it's got that typical, like stereotypical riverside, like riverbank walk home, which we have as our cover art. Anime. We have essentially that. It's imagery that comes to mind when I think of school life animes. So classic. Yep. And all the bubbles, sparkles, flowers.
Yep, there's a lot of sparkling.
So many backdrops where like the actual realm they exist in disappears. And then it's just like a pretty pastel ombre effect in the background with just their little characters standing out.
Yeah, they do this really fun thing where every time Sawako is having like an internal monologue, they draw her like super dopey looking. It's very good.
her chibi is super cute.
They are like super round.
Yeah, I got a round head and then like eyelashes, like 3 little stick eyelashes, and they did a good job, or the voice actress, because like when she's talking normally, she does like a good job of sounding kind of hesitant and proper and polite. But her inner monologue, or when she's like, huh? Like when she gets surprised, or she's like, what did they just say? Like her voice changes really well. It's funny. Are they talking about me?
Yeah. So once we get all the characters set up, we have a scene in class where Kazehaya announces that they're going to have a bravery competition on the last days of the term, and everybody who wants to help out should volunteer. We see 2 girls speculate if Sawako is going to join, and they might be able to use her as like a real ghost summoner in the scary woods walking through. Sawako hears this and thinks about how much she's going to disappoint them because she can't do that. Like so the whole thing I have this entire episode is like, how much does she understand that like they're kind of bullying her?
She doesn't.
Does she understand this?
I think I don't know that the show understands this.
Yeah.
It's like weird because it's not directly at her for the most part, right? It's just that it's in front of her, so it's not like head-on bullying. It's just like
it's almost worse.
Exclusion. Yeah, talking like you're not there, kind of. Yeah, the word bully has not been mentioned once so far.
No. Anyway, so we get that scene, and the teacher, like unrelated, the teacher asks one volunteer to come to school before class to help him out during like the summer session, and nobody wants to. But Sawako has this idea that she can get people to like her if she is a martyr
one for the team. Yeah.
So she feels obligated to volunteer and like starts to be like, oh, I can do it. But then Kazehaya cuts her off because he's like, oh, well, we always make Sawako do all this stuff. And he feels bad about that. And he's like, I guess I can do it instead. But unfortunately, Sawako can't allow anyone to be more miserable and self-sacrificing than her. So she like gets up and insists that she is the one that has to do it.
I relate to
her. And her entire reasoning is
I have absolutely nothing going on in my life. Yeah. I am available and ready to help.
Oh my God. Oh, it's so pathetic. Stop. Oh man.
Oh dear. I think it's funny that before we started watching it, you jokingly said like, oh, I bet there will be like a courage test episode, and then it ended up being the very first episode. So you know your stuff. You haven't seen many shoujo, but
that's right.
This is a staple of school life.
I know
anime.
how comedy works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she does that. Oh man. This is like when somebody like learns that self-deprecating jokes can be kind of funny, but then they like, take it too far, and you're like, all right, man, like you gotta rein it in.
You're talking to me. God, Kazehaya is so cute. I just gotta say it. He's so blushy. It just, so cute.
I feel so bad for him later. All right, so next scene, Sawako is watering some plants, where she runs into one of her like childhood friends, whose name is Shino, who's in a different class. So she does have friends. They're just not in her class because this is the first term of high school, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
She asks, Shino asks her if she knows anybody from the class that she is, and Sawako says no, but there is this boy that's cool. It's Kazehaya, and she's like, oh, you like, what's he like? And she describes him as, quote, 100% fresh, and is like refreshing to be around or something weird. And like she says this very loudly, and the scene cuts, and Kazehaya is just literally standing there in an open window like 2 feet away from her, and he totally heard all of that conversation. And he's just like, because being called fresh is like a weird thing to be called. So he asks her what she meant by that, and her friend Shino is like, oh, this is bad, he heard you should apologize, because like nobody thinks this is a compliment. But then Sawako's like, oh, I meant that as a compliment, and he finds that to be funny.
I could see it being like, oh, try and get fresh with me, like kind of like Playboy being a similar term, maybe. I'm assuming it's like 100%, I don't know, like Rotten Tomatoes, 100% fresh, like that's a good thing.
Well, that's going to come up again later as like a pejorative, so...
A what?
Like an insult.
Oh, I am learning things just by being in your company. Yeah.
Yeah, this will come up again. But I think like you describe someone fresh as like an ironic thing. I don't think it's like a thing that you would say candidly.
Genuinely, yep.
Yes, at least in this instance. Right. So then Kazehaya like wants to come out and talk to her. And he's so relieved because he thought that maybe she hated him. And this is going to become a theme. People think that Sawako hates everybody else because she doesn't say anything, which is very funny. They talk, and Kazehaya confirms that her name is actually Sawako and not Sadako, like says her name out loud, and she is like, this is the first time anybody has understood me. And then he tells her that she should come to the bravery competition. This is what the most, like, I think you're just into this guy. Like, other people, like your friend, she knows your name. Other people know your name. Also, all those people that are bullying you do know your name. They just don't call you it because they're mean to you.
Yeah. She'll take whatever she can get, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, she's like super down bad for this guy, but like not in a way she understands. So after school, she goes to sign up to the bravery competition to like volunteer for it. And we meet two girls that we saw earlier that they were like joking about her playing a ghost. Their names are Chizuru and Ayane. Yeah, when she shows up, they were also joking about having Sawako dress up like the ring girl.
Yeah.
But then Sawako shows up and is like, I'll do it. I'll dress up like the ring girl. And they're like, okay. And then she gives this like really sad speech about how she wants to be everybody's friends. And then she also apologizes that she can't actually summon ghosts, which Ayane thinks is very funny, but then Chizuru finds it like very endearing. And,
I know. I like
cries.
that Chizu is like, oh, it's, like, oh, it's so touching. Look at her, like, being a young girl with a pure heart, kind of. I think it's funny because she's always like crying whenever Sawako does something super like endearing.
Yeah. So like Chizuru is the one that's like taller and like a little more
tomboyish.
Yeah. I mean, we learned that she used to be like rough and tumble in like episode 3 a little bit. And then Ayane is like more dry humor, I would say, and like sarcastic.
She's got that lip filler action going on.
She got the lip filler. So that's kind of their whole deal, and they hang out to each other. They're going to be recurring characters. So anyway, she does this, and then Sawako is like, oh, I've changed a little bit. I can talk to random girls in my class and sign up for a thing. All thanks to Kazehaya, which is like, okay, is it really thanks to him? Are we sure?
She's going to credit him for anything good that happens to her moving forward.
Yes, this is going to be a reoccurring theme in this show.
When I first watched this series for the first time, I thought they were bullies. Like when they were talking, I was like, oh, they're mean. I did not realize that they were going to like turn into like friend characters.
Oh, I mean, they're not like mean, like in a they're not like being like personally mean. They're just like messing around kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next thing that happens is it's the night of the bravery competition, and Chizuru and Ayane are keeping Sawako a secret to scare everybody, which mostly just means that Kazehaya doesn't know that she's here, and he's like, oh man, maybe she ditched, or like I told her to come and she didn't come, dang. Sawako is like standing out in the forest by herself, and her job is to scare people as they come by, which it turns out she's extremely good at.
She's wearing a white dress, which is actually pretty cute. It's pretty stylish. It's not straight up orphan dress like Hadako, but it's got like cute little collar and buttons and structure and stuff. So I make a few notes, but like she only wears like skirts and dresses, but they're pretty cute outside her school uniform setup.
But yeah, so she's very good at scaring everybody. She does this for a while until eventually Kazehaya shows up, and he's by himself. And he is shocked to see Sawako there because he thought that she skipped out. He asks her if she's like scared to be out here by herself at night, and she's like, nope. She actually likes the nighttime, and it's actually really nice in the summer. It's like you can hear all like the bugs and stuff.
Love
like
them
it's got the
cicadas.
good feel. And so he's like, oh, he thinks that's funny. And he asks if he can chill with her because he doesn't have a partner.
Because she didn't show up, so there's an uneven number.
So there's an odd number of people. And so he hangs out with her.
Yeah, and oh god, it's because, well, it's funny because she's just awkwardly sitting there, and he looks normal, but she's in her little like cartoony version of herself next to him. But yeah, he's just talking to her, and she kind of, whatever, they're talking, they like kind of just look at each other and make eye contact, and then he gets kind of blushy, and then she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like it's not true that if you look into my eyes for more than 5 seconds that like something bad happens to you. He's like, no, I didn't mean like that, I meant like, oh, I'm embarrassed because I'm a cutie who like blushes all the time.
This is a lot of Sawako can't like imagine somebody being interested in her, and so like she is constantly misreading everything that happens.
I'm assuming that she probably hasn't paid attention to romance very much, so she just doesn't understand that that's even an indication of that. Like her mind is very single track. Like, he's talking to me, It's not in a mean way. That's good. Not perceiving any other intention in what he's saying or what she says. Because she goes into it a bit later.
Oh my god. God. Oh, she's so cringe. Okay.
But the two gals, Ayane and Chizuru, come.
They come by.
And he's like, what? You guys knew she was coming? And they were like, yeah. And then Chizuru like tosses her a drink, a beverage as like a reward for doing it. And she's super touched and, all like, oh, thank you. And Chizuru's just like, no, don't worry. And she does like cool samurai walk away. Like they use like samurai inspired poses and attitudes a lot, which I think is funny. But she's
for Chizuru.
Yeah.
It's like loyalty and honesty or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. But this is the scene, like, they show up, and they see Kazehaya with her, and they're like, oh, what are you doing out here? And then, like, one of them calls him a gentleman, like, as a joke. Yeah. And the other one calls him a fresh boy, which is why I feel like...
Yeah. They're just teasing him.
Being called fresh is, like, an ironic thing.
Yeah, because they know, I think they have an impression that he's kind of into her, so they're like, oh, you poor boy trying to make a move, and what are you doing out here with her all alone? You're trying to make a room
with like the dumbest girl alive, unfortunately.
Yeah, just emotionally dumb, not dumb. Just in
we're gonna learn later that her only hobby is studying. Yeah, Kazehaya says it's good that they're friends. So it's like, oh, you're friends with Chizuru and Ayane. That's great. And Sawako's like, oh yeah, it's thanks to you. And he's like, well, I don't think that's true. I think you're actually just pretty sociable. And then he gets embarrassed that she's staring at him, and she freaks out because she can't read social cues. This is where this part happened. But this is the first time of many conversations they're gonna have over and over and over again, where he's like, "Oh, things seem to be going pretty well for you," and she's like, "It's all thanks to you," and he's gonna be like, "I don't think so, honestly." He has to do this so many times in these 3 episodes.
Yeah, and we're only just beginning.
God, this kid. I feel so bad for this kid. Anyway, it's the next day, and Kazehaya's friends are teasing him for technically not completing the bravery competition because he just like hung out with Sawako and didn't come back to camp at any point. They tell him that the punishment he has, that for his punishment for not completing it, he has to go out with Sawako, the ghost girl, for a whole week. And Kazehaya says, very seriously, that this is one thing he'll never do, which everyone is like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
That's kind of harsh. But then he clarifies that it's actually really rude to have dating somebody as a punishment, and he's not going to play along with that. Which is like, all right, I mean, you were like saying that extremely dramatically.
Yeah.
And also, Sawako's right there for all of this, by the way. She's like literally next to everybody.
I know. See, they don't talk to her like she's a person in the room when she is.
This is like, you're so getting bullied. You're so clearly getting bullied, dude. But yeah, so then Sawako freaks out over this interaction about not about, the fact that she's like being ridiculed by all her classmates, but by the potential damage this is going to do to Kazehaya's reputation.
Yep.
So she decides that she's going to clear up the misunderstanding and loudly declares that this is all a misunderstanding. You see, they were together, but it wasn't like anything special because Kazehaya is just nice. He's just a nice boy, and he was hanging out with me because he's nice. And also, the notion that I was attracted to him because he's nice and sociable and positive and honest, all that stuff is completely true. Anyway, I hope that clears everything up, and then she leaves.
Bounces. Yep. I know.
It's the most insane... Oh my god, she's so dumb.
She straight says like, like these are the things I'm attracted to about him, which does sound blatantly like a confession, but it's not.
Of course it does. Her clarification was like, oh, you think he was hanging out with me because he's interested in me. No. He was just nice. Anyway, I'm madly in love with this guy. Hope that clears everything up, everybody. See you later.
Oh god. Oh man. And yeah. Oh, so good. I wish we could have seen Kazehaya's face afterwards. Like, I wanted to see his face, like, turn red and, like, smoke come out of his ears or something with embarrassment.
Just a baffling interaction. Like, the idea that you would protect his reputation by saying that, like, oh, I like this guy, but he doesn't like me back. Anyway, thanks.
You're just too well-versed in talking in romance, Joe, that you just could never understand.
No human being would do this. Nobody on Earth would be like, well, I'm just going to declare my feelings for this guy. She doesn't even realize she's doing it.
No, she's just trying to say, like, he's so wonderful. Like, anyone would want to spend time with him, including me, who is a person, guys. Remember that. Not a ghost, actually here. actually
I can't
enrolled
see
at
ghosts.
this school.
Okay, so it's the next day, and Sawako goes to help her teacher out like she said she would, like before class or whatever. While walking over, she thinks about how she did what she had to do yesterday to preserve his reputation, and it should all be okay now. Except that, by saying all that stuff out loud, she probably ruined her relationship with him in every, like, meaningful way, and that makes her sad, and she starts to cry.
Yeah.
Because she is, like, the saddest, wettest cat ever. But on her way to the school, Kazehaya is waiting for her, and he gives her a bag of candies, which is the reward for being the behind-the-scenes MVP from the bravery contest, and also it's an apology that everybody had for her for yesterday. And she asks if she cleared everything up yesterday, and he responds by saying she doesn't really understand what he feels about her at all, actually. So no, the answer is no. And then we get a flashback of his meeting with Sawako from his perspective, and it turns out that during that interaction, he caught some feelings for her as we cut to credits. End of episode 1.
Woohoo! Prologue.
Oh my god.
When we were first watching it, you were like, this is the entire show. The entire plot has happened in one episode.
It has. It's like, she declares she likes him. He clearly likes her. The episode is called Prologue. She's already made some friends. What are we going to do? This show is like 36 episodes or whatever.
Well, it's crazy because, these episodes are essentially 20 minutes long, but like so much stuff happens, like so many different scenes happen. Because I'll like check and I'm like, it feels like the end of the episode should be here now, but still like got like 7 minutes left. It's wild how much they can make happen without it feeling like super rushed.
Yeah, it sure is making me think that covering 3 episodes at a time is a good idea and not going to make all these episodes super long.
Is that sarcasm?
Yes.
Yes.
This is going to be a long episode. We have 2 more episodes to talk about.
Shite. Oh my god, you're right. It's already been 40 minutes. Oh lord.
Episode 2 is called Seat Shuffling. It's raining as Sawako walks to school. She sees a small abandoned puppy in a cardboard box that's being rained on. She feels bad for it and leaves her umbrella for the dog as it barks at her. She shows up to school drenched and scares a bunch of girls who are gossiping about her. And Kazehaya, like, maybe being a thing. Before class, Kazehaya comes in, and he's also soaked, and all of his friends tease him for it. He notices her, and he says good morning. Then he asks her if she has gym clothes so she can change into and, like, not be wet. And she, like, this didn't occur to her. And she says no. So he turns to Chizuru and asks to lend her hers. She does, but it's gross. And, like, she didn't wash it, and it's like, yeah, but... Sawako accepts it anyway, and Kazehaya gives her the towel he's been using to dry himself off.
Okay, so I feel so bad. I just feel bad for her. Essentially, they're like, oh, I heard that she got rejected, like public confession rejection is what they're gossiping about now, and like, oh yeah, they can never be a thing. And I guess I feel like Japan has like a very strong paranormal beliefs or like legends and stuff, so all of the different things we see her as are just references to different things like that. Like her being wet makes her even more scary looking. Her hair's all like plastered on her, and I just feel so bad for her.
Yes, because she's pathetic.
And she's being bullied and no one is acknowledging it.
No, because she also doesn't acknowledge it. It's like nobody is aware of this happening.
Even her teacher, we didn't mention this, but her teacher's also freaked out by her.
Yes, her teacher is also scared of her. Okay, so like when Kazehaya is like, hey, Chizuru, lend her your jersey or whatever, I noticed that Chizuru and Ayane still call her Sadako.
Yep.
The ring name.
Yep, I noticed that as well. Yep.
Pathetic. She's
man.
It's just so sad. She's just so sad. Anyway, we got a really cute scene where Sawako's drawn super tiny and she like walks around with a little towel on her head. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sawako changes and Kazehaya's friend tells him that he doesn't need to be so nice to Sawako after he rejected her like that in front of everybody. You're probably just making it worse, dude. And then he's like, no, I didn't reject her. And his friend is like, oh, so wait, are you going out? And Kazehaya gets a flashback to the rest of the conversation at the end of last episode because it didn't end there. Mm-hmm. And in that conversation, he's like being a cool guy and he's like, oh, well, hopefully I kind of expect that I'm going to be able to see you this summer vacation, right? In like a I'm suddenly asking you out kind of way. And she responds with, oh, you mean like you won't ignore me? That's great because I really look up to you and want to be like you someday. And then he realizes
and these feelings will never change.
Oh my God. Yeah, and these feelings will never change. And like he realizes that what she meant by like admiring him
yeah,
wasn't that she liked him, but that she like respected him, but not like romantically interested. And he gets super embarrassed for misreading that. And I feel so bad for this kid.
I know. I feel so bad for him too. He's really
it's like
got his
horrifying.
work cut out for him. Well, luckily
like
she has no idea.
Like you thought you were gonna have like this like high school romance, and it turns out the person you're like talking to is like, it's so dumb. Just like completely on a different wavelength.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This is what the show is going to be, isn't it?
Yeah. I can't say. We'll find out, won't we?
God, it's brutal. I feel so bad for this kid. Yeah, anyway, so then it's lunchtime. Sawako places drinks at Chizuru's, Ayane, and Kazehaya's desks as a thank you gift for like helping her out when she was all wet. Kazehaya spots Sawako in the hallway, and he confirms to her that this is a gift that she gave to him because this is going to be his new running thing where he has to confirm everything that she does.
I mean, makes sense.
Yes, this is what she's done to him. She says it's a thank you for the towel earlier, and Kazehaya is relieved to have some clarity, but then he's like, you could have just said this to me. You don't have to like leave gifts with no context. Then they keep talking and realizing that they both saw the same dog earlier today on the way to school.
And her hair is up.
Her hair is up. This would solve all of her problems. This is the most, all of your problems stem from the fact that you look like the ring girl. If you just put your hair up, you wouldn't look like the ring girl. Problem solved.
Yep. She looked cute.
Yeah, if you just tucked in your shirt and had a different haircut.
Oh my god, yep.
All your problems would be solved. Like, listen, I don't want to be like superficiality. Outward appearance.
Well, when all your problems stem from that, you might as well give it a try, right? Addressing it.
There's a funny scene where like they put like Ayane and Chizuru realize that they like she left drinks for them, and Ayane's like, "Why did I get one? I didn't do anything."
Yeah,
which is very funny. She did not do anything.
She's just part of the gang.
She's just here too. But yeah, Kazehaya having to explicitly confirm everything because she's the weirdest girl ever. Yikes, bro. After school, they go and see the dog. It loves Kazehaya, and he's like, ooh, maybe I'll adopt this puppy. That's cool. It also hates Sawako. And she says that it's okay, because she expected this, because animals tend to hate her. And also babies tend to hate her. And then Kazehaya is like, okay, well, dogs tend to like the same people that their owners are friends with. So he like gets real close to her, and he's like, oh, look, I'm friends with this girl. You should like her, dog. And the dog is much calmer.
He's kind of confused. Like,
yeah, the dog is just kind of confused. Sawako thinks about how sociable Kazehaya is and how she wishes she could be more like that. And then he like leaves, and she's like, oh, can I see the dog again? He's like, oh, what? You only want to see the dog again? You don't want to like see me? And she's like, oh, of course I want to see you. And it's like, there you go. Getting some normal flirting in, I guess.
I mean,
I don't think she understands it.
He's just gonna have to hold her hand through this whole thing.
He's so doomed.
Well, because any other girl would be like, ooh, Kazehaya trying to put the moves on me, eh? And she's just like...
It's very funny to me that, like, as a introverted loner, like, Sawako clearly doesn't, like, read any fiction or anything. She's never, like, read a romance thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, the dream, finding an abandoned dog that you get to just take home and adopt, that is the dream.
Kazehaya just does it.
Yeah, I know.
He just does it.
Lucky dude. Oh, I want to find a dog in a box and take it home.
Well, you probably could. It's the next day, and Sawako has baked cookies for Chizaru, Ayane, and Kazehaya. God, as the thank you for something? I don't know why she does this.
Just follow up, thank you. Her gratitude is overflowing.
Yes. These are her first friends ever, even though she had a friend in middle school. She, like, has these in her bag, but she feels awkward and is like, maybe I shouldn't give it, like, maybe they'll think it's weird if I give them this. And then she's, like, constantly, like, debating if she's gonna, like, be awkward giving it to them or not, which is pretty good. Kazehaya swings by and says that he's gonna be in a different math class in the morning period, and then leaves. Two rando girls come in and notice that Sawako's seat is available because it's the beginning of the term and everybody's switching seats. But one of them recognizes that that's where Sawako usually sits, and so it's probably cursed. Standing like 2 desks away, Sawako sees this and assures them that the seat isn't like dirty or anything, and like it's not gonna curse them, and she can't sense ghosts at all, so like, you don't gotta worry about it. But as she's saying all this, she's looking at the floor, and when she looks up, she realizes that they have walked away mid-explanation.
So sad.
God dang. Oh my god.
Poor girl.
She's so pathetic. Ayane sees this though.
Yeah.
And feels bad for her.
Well, essentially, no. I think it's like, because I think your class gets divvied up for certain subjects. So it's essentially girls from a different class who are there for that math portion, and I guess they just sit wherever they want. So
oh, like in different periods.
Yeah, so Sawako moved, and they're like, oh, who normally sits there? Like, oh, our friend, whatever. She was like sick for a week after sitting in her seat. Da 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 da. So then she went back and sat in her own seat because she can't sit anywhere else because then she's just gonna make trouble because people are being dumb. Ah,
hated, bullied,
terrible. Honestly.
Anyway, main class starts. Their teacher is clearly just hungover and lets them all, and it's just like, hey, you all figure out what your seating arrangement is going to be, and then he just leaves. The kid gossips that maybe the teacher got sick from hanging out with Sawako over the summer term, because none of them know what a hangover is. Then they gossip some more about her, just generally, and say the stuff that's like, oh, well, if she's like near you for too long, it'll like curse you or something. Then they start drawing lots for seating arrangements, and Sawako hopes that she can be friends with the people sitting around her. She draws a seat in the back corner near the window. She overhears some girl who drew a seat in the front and is like, dang, I don't want to sit in the front. That's where the teacher is. And she's like, oh, this is my chance to be a martyr. And she's like, oh, I will trade you because I got a seat in the back. But this girl is like, no, I don't want to sit near you. Like, something's gonna be cursed if happens if I like exchange with you. But what this does mean is that everybody learns where Sawako is sitting in the back, and they all like scheme to try to make sure they're not sitting next to her. Sawako hears all of this and feels super bad that everybody hates her. So this
so
is where
brutal. Awful.
She knows that they hate her.
Yes. It's so sad because she's like not letting it really get her down. She's discouraged, but it's not stopping her from like her endeavor to make friends someday. Resilient.
Get a new
Sawako.
haircut. Oh my god.
She should get the Hime cut, like Hatoko, where it has like the extra little bang bit on the like the cheekbones.
Mm-hmm. She should just be more like Hatoko. This would never happen to Hatoko.
Never.
Kazehaya declares, seeing all this going on, Kazehaya declares that he's going to sit next to Sawako and drags his desk over to her. So she's sitting in like the back corner row. So there's like one seat in front of her, one seat to her right, and then one seat behind her. And then there's like one.
It's a very coveted seat because you get to sit in the back away from the teacher. Yeah, and then you can just zone out looking out the window.
It's the anime protagonist seat most of the time. So he decides he's going to sit there. And then Ayane is like, you know what? I'm going to sit in front of Sawako because everyone's like, oh, we can't sit next to her. We'll get cursed. So they're declaring those spots. Yeah. And then Chizaru is like, ooh, I know what I must do. I will sit behind Sawako so she'll be completely covered. And she tries to take that seat. But some guy named Ryu is already sitting there. And he's like, I'm not moving. This is the best seat in the entire class. It's in the very back. It's by the window.
Yep. That's the seat
I get to sit here. And so Chizuru has to sit next to Ayane,
reluctantly,
like in front of Kazehaya instead. It's a pretty good bit.
Yeah.
Sawako uses the opportunity to give them their thank you gifts, and they say they taste the cookies, and they're like, they're so delicious. And then Ryu, who sits behind her, is like, can I have some? And they give him some. And Sawako is overjoyed to be sitting near her friends now. And then Ryu immediately takes a nap. Who is this guy?
We saw a glimpse of him in episode 1 because he's like in the pack of boys that Kazehaya hangs out with, along with the kid with like the fox eyes. Mm-hmm. The lazy face-drawn kid.
Okay, so the last scene is after school. Kazehaya sees Sawako walking home and teases her about crying all the time. Because like the last 2 times he's seen her walking around, she's been crying for various reasons. She thinks about how he's easy to talk to. And while they're talking, 2 girls from his class see them talking and get... like, I don't know, we have shots of them looking at them talking or something. Sawako thinks about her feelings towards Kazehaya, maybe have moved beyond admiration and respect into
the unknown.
Something else. Is it love? I don't know. Credits.
Yeah, so the panning to the random chicks, there's 3 of them. It's like the 2 gossiping, and then there's one more like well-designed character that we shall see in the next episode.
Yeah, the blonde one.
Yep. So that was episode 2.
Yeah, she's got friends now. They, I guess, are her friends. Also, Ryu is there. I love this guy. I love this guy. He's just like, no, this seat is great. Actually, I'm not moving. I don't believe in curses anyway. I get to take a nap in this seat.
He's just like a chill dude, not bothered.
Just some guy. Sawako has to know she's getting bullied, right?
I don't know. Maybe because it's like more passive and it's not super aggressive. Like, because I feel like some bullying. I'm like trying to think of bullying depicted in anime. It's normally like girls being mean to a girl that the guy that everyone likes is paying attention to. And maybe they'll like corner her, or they'll like accidentally dump water on her or something like that, which is
some
more
passive aggressive stuff.
Yeah, so it's more like that. I think it's a typical bullying where it's more like we're making it super apparent that we specifically don't like you, whereas this is just everyone in general. Still sucks, but I think because it's not like as personal, it maybe in her mind it's not bullying because this is how she's been perceived her whole life, so this is just how the world works. So it's like not bullying because this is just the world she's experienced her whole life. Freaking bummer.
She had friends, I don't know.
Well, I think it's more like acquaintances. Like they knew her through middle school, so they're familiar with her because they kind of grew up together.
But like she knows her friend.
That one random girl that we're probably never gonna see again.
Why would? Oh God! If we never see her again, I'm gonna be like, I feel like your friendship was fake, girl.
I mean, I think it's just more casual. I don't think they actually hang out or anything. Probably just checking in on her because she feels bad because she knows how much she's going to be struggling. So God. Nice, but not close. Okay, yeah. My guess.
Maintaining saddest, wettest cat status.
Well, she can't be cat. Animals hate her. She can't be an animal. Oh, she's just a sad little, like, ghost girl.
Sack. She's a sack.
Sad sack.
Sad sack Sawako.
Yeah.
Episode 3 is called After School. Sawako says good morning to everyone, and I have written here, open parentheses, big deal, close parentheses.
Yeah, it is.
She, Chizaru and Ayane tease her for, like, having a creepy smile, because she does the greeting people while, like, smiling, or, like, scowling. And she's just like me for real, because that's what I'm like. They also still call her Sadako, so we still haven't gotten over that.
Nope.
She says good morning to Ryu, and Ryu is like, oh, hey, and he doesn't know who she is. He's like, what's your name? I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
So this dude is checked all the way out, which is great.
I feel like he's going to be a fan favorite, or at least he's going to be a favorite amongst us.
Yeah, because I love a guy that's like, oh, this whole team is like scheming to bully Sawako, except for this guy who just isn't paying attention to anything.
Neutral.
Kazehaya comes in, or he asks Sawako that he's like, oh, I still haven't picked a name for the dog from episode 2. Do you want to name the dog from episode 2? And she's like, ooh. But they get interrupted by their substitute teacher, who is the baseball coach, whose name is Pin, and he offers the name Pedro Martinez.
I'm assuming that's like a baseball player or something.
I think it is. It must be or something, right? Because he's a baseball coach. Sawako likes his name because that means the dog's name is Mar. They can call him Mar-chan. I don't think Kazehaya likes his name.
No.
Can't do anything
she's
about
sold
it, I guess.
on it, yep.
She's so sold on it.
Yep.
Then Pin stares at Sawako for like 5 seconds to prove that she can't curse him.
Or that he's tough for withstanding it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm so tough. Anyway, bye. And then Kazehaya is like, oh, wait, if we stare at Sawako, everyone's going to see that we don't get cursed. So I'm going to try to stare at Sawako. So he starts to stare at her, but he can't do it because he gets embarrassed from staring at the girl he likes for too long.
Oh,
pathetic.
No, we love it.
Pathetic boy.
Swoon.
We learned that Kazehaya, Chizaru, and Ryu are childhood friends. They like went to the same middle school or whatever. And that Ayane met Chizaru in high school. So they're like newer friends. Also, Kazehaya was very popular with the ladies and is everyone's boy.
Yes. It's the typical, like, if none of us could get with him, so let's just proclaim him as everyone so no one actually does have the chance to get with him. Because we're just going to bully them behind the scenes.
Sawako is very jealous that she's not popular with the ladies, which is pretty funny. I should be like that.
Yeah.
And then we see him talking to some other girls, and then she's like, oh, some other girls came from other classes to hawk with him? Oh, that couldn't be me.
No, not at all. What normally it'd be like, oh, who are those girls he's talking to from another class? They must be close if they come to see him. Not what's going through her head whatsoever.
Yeah, it is very funny to be like, I'm jealous, but not of the girls talking to him. I'm jealous of him getting talked to by girls. That could be me.
Yeah, that's good.
Pin, their teacher, is like, some volunteer needs to stay behind and do, like, attendance because I didn't do it. And Sawako is like, ooh, my opportunity to be a martyr. So she's like, I'll do it. But then Kazehaya is like, no, I'm gonna do it. And then everyone's like, I mean, should we volunteer too if Kazehaya is doing it or whatever? But then Pin gets annoyed and he's like, why do I have to watch you guys flirt? That's annoying. He orders Kazehaya to the office after class and makes Sawako do the attendance. It's after school and Sawako is recording the attendance alone. Kazehaya goes in to see Pin, but then he has to go pee, and Kazehaya is just like, well, I'm out, so he leaves. He comes in to see Sawako, and he takes the opportunity to talk to her. And then he's like, oh, let me write some names on the attendance sheet, and then he writes her name, which makes her embarrassed. Because there's nothing more embarrassed than watching your crush write your name down. But then Pin makes an announcement over the intercom, and is like, dude, get back here. So he goes and leaves. Then some girl enters the class, or some girls enter the classroom, and they're like, oh, I thought we saw Kazehaya here. And Sawako's like, ooh, my opportunity to make friends. So she's like, why don't you guys hang out with me? I'll move all the desks. And at first she thinks that they refuse because they're like, oh, no, that's okay. But it turns out they were just saying that because they're like, we'll move the desks. You don't have to do everything. Mm-hmm. And then they reveal that Kazehaya, like, asked them to, like, hang out with her. And she's like, oh, that's so nice.
Looking out for her. Kaze loves her. Ah!
While they're talking to her, they're like, oh, like, it's, like, you're very chill. We thought you were going to be angry at everybody because you're, like, a loner on purpose, right? And they, like, totally don't understand. Everybody thinks she's, like, a loner on purpose and that she's angry all the time. Mm-hmm. Which I relate to.
Yes. We relate in different ways to Sawako.
Yes.
Any insecurity you have, I
did have friends
it somehow.
In high school, so.
Okay, well, I didn't. I was definitely forgettable. I got counted absent in a class by my own teacher.
Oh my god.
That's how forgettable I was.
That's so funny.
Oh my god. The things I could say that make my high school experience sound sad are endless.
Oh my god. That's so tragic.
So maybe I'll share more of those fun stories as this epic saga unplays.
Yeah, I have some stories I could share as we go along too. Let's see. Sawako sees Kazehaya on the way out of school. She thanks him for all that he's done to get her friends and everything. And again, he's like, I think you're just making friends because everybody respects your hard work. And also, like, you inspire me too, Sawako. And he's like, and she's like, ooh. And while they're having this, we see that mysterious blonde chick again, just listening to him around the corner. I wonder if this is going to become relevant next episode.
We shall see.
Let's see. It's the next day, and Sawako basically has the same exchange that she had with Kazehaya about, like, thanking him for all they do with Ayane and Chizaru. And they're like, nah, I think you did this yourself. Also, Sawako bought a book of ghost stories so she can live up to everyone's expectations of being a ghost girl, which everybody in the class thinks is pretty funny.
Yeah.
During class, Kazehaya passes Sawako a note, and Sawako is jazzed to participate in note passing and tries to figure out who she's supposed to pass it to next. Her two options are Ayane or Ryu, and she decides to pass it to Ryu, who is sleeping. And Kazehaya is like, dude, what the hell? And, like, grabs it from his desk. And then he has to write a note on the note to clarify that it's to Sawako and she's not supposed to pass it.
Yeah, Dami. Yeah. So funny.
It's pretty good. This is a pretty good bit.
Because she's excited. Like, I've been entrusted with this very important task of passing the note. Oh, it's so cute.
The note says that he's going to go for a walk with the dog after school and that she should come along. And she's like, yeah, I'll come along. While daydreaming about hanging out with Kazehaya later, she drops some papers in the hallway, and the blonde girl we saw earlier helps her pick them up. And Sawako's like, wow, this girl's really pretty. She sure is character designed well. I wonder if she's going to be plot relevant in an episode. Mm-hmm. And then she leaves and the scene ends. Sawako meets Kazehaya in Mar the dog after school. He still hates Sawako, which is funny.
They both changed after school, so she's wearing another cute but simple dress.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she brought ammunition against the dog's hatred. She brought a bunch of snacks to divert the dog's attention to that instead of hating her. She's smart. Thinking things through.
Speaking of that, Kazehaya is like, oh, like, what do you do in, like, your free time? And she's like, I don't know, like, studying and stuff.
And he's like, well, what do you do for fun outside of school? And she's like, I don't know, study and stuff.
Yeah, she has no personal life. So sad.
And
then she starts talking about how she likes to daydream.
This is
and
so
he's like,
sad.
oh, okay.
What kind of daydreams?
I like imagining scenarios. And he's like, oh, what kind of scenarios? And he'd be like, oh, you know, like what it would be like if, like, I was studying with somebody.
Essentially just like, normal day-to-day interactions that she's fantasizing about experiencing.
Oh my god. She's like, yeah, in my free time I study, and then I fantasize about studying with a friend.
Oh, so sad.
Oh my god. Kazehaya says that nobody he knows or nobody knows about him adopting Mar, and that it's his and Sawako's secret. And she's like, oh, I get to have a secret with somebody. That's so nice. God, she's so sad. This whole thing is pathetic. She's so pathetic. All she does is study. This is why she doesn't read romance novels. She doesn't understand what flirting is. It's because she's just a huge nerd. It's the next day. Kazehaya studies with Sawako, fulfilling her dream. He, comes in during the free period. He's like, oh, Sawako, can you help me with, some language stuff? And she's like, oh, yeah, okay.
He's calling her by her last name, though. He could never muster the courage to call her by her first name only.
What's her last name?
Kuronoma?
Kuronoma? Yeah, Kuronoma. Anyway, he studies with her, and it turns out Sawako's, really smart and good at tutoring, and everyone in the class is like, hold on, you know what this stuff means? And a bunch of other students, asked to join in on the study session so they can learn some shit. And this causes Sawako to, have her first normal, genuine, happy smile, and everybody is freaked out.
Whoa, did you see that?
The ghost girl is, nice.
Yeah.
So good for her. She gets her dream of studying with her friends because she's a huge nerd.
Oh, man.
Later, Sawako and Kazehaya are talking about today's events after school, and Sawako tells him, thanks again for making everything happen. And Kazehaya is I don't know if you know this, but I'm a pretty selfish person. I kind of wish that smile earlier you gave to everybody was a smile just for me. And then he's like, I'm going to monopolize you in the future. No. In, the most overt flirting you could ever possibly do.
Yeah.
And I don't think she got it.
Nope. Not at all.
I feel so bad for this guy.
I know. He's pulling all the stops.
How much more straightforward can you be when you're like, oh, you looked really pretty today. I wish you were only looking pretty like that for me. I'm going to try to have you all for myself. And then she's just like, oh.
What could that mean?
Cool.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, and then the
last scene.
Yep. Drama.
In the last scene, Ayane and Chizaru are getting ready to go home by putting on their going home shoes. They overhear some girls gossiping about them, and we learn stuff. Apparently Chizaru was a former punk, and Ayane had 100 boyfriends in middle school or something. They confront these girls and are like, hey, who's talking shit? Who's spreading rumors about us? And the scared girl is like, it was Sadako. And they're like, ooh, as we cut to credits.
Betrayal! Just when they were becoming friends. Yeah.
There's no way they can think, they know her. They know she, can't form a sentence to talk to people.
The rumor mill of this school is insane. They can't talk about anything else. All they can talk about is what at school.
Yeah, well, clearly nobody learns anything because Sawako's the only person who knows how to study.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, man. What do you think's gonna happen next episode?
I think next episode, I bet Chizaru is gonna be like, I can't believe this betrayal, and Ayane is gonna be like, come on, dude, clearly that's not true.
Uh-huh.
We met this idiot. There's no way she could gossip about us.
Then who do you think the culprit could be?
I don't know. Maybe it's the one character that's character designed that we haven't met yet.
Ooh. That's a good
Could it be
guess.
our little blondie girl?
Uh-huh. Her fluffy rival?
Probably.
Oh, man. Okay.
But there's no way they fall for this. I mean, come on.
We'll see.
If they fall for this, I'm gonna think they're so stupid.
Well, I did have a note, I'm like Chizuru. I'm just so dumb. Because she has this... Essentially, her character is kind of full of justice, but also kind of a dummy, but well-meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I think she'll knee-jerk reaction. I think Ayane is gonna be like, dude, come on.
In the scene where it's Sawako telling everyone how to do stuff, and Chizuru being like, "Oh wow, I get it," and then everyone else hears her say that, and they're like, "Damn, if Chizuru can answer or solve a problem, then it must be good tutoring."
Oh yeah.
Oh man. So what do you think of the show so far?
I feel so bad for Kazehaya. He's gonna have such a terrible time this entire show.
It's got 30 more episodes of this shit.
Oh my god.
And then a whole nother season coming. Oh man.
This is so
He's gonna be working overtime
for him. Dude, I can't believe we get the episode 2 is we get the second half of the conversation, which is devastating. Which is him realizing that you admitting that you like me to everybody, you didn't actually mean it that way.
Mortifying.
But everybody, including me, thinks that now.
Yep.
Oh, yikes, this kid.
Well, normally it's like annoying misunderstandings lead to drama in these shows, but it's more like, like dumb ways. But this is more of a like, Sawako just isn't equipped with the social knowledge to understand. So she just by default misunderstands.
Yeah, it's like, it's
she can't comprehend what it would be, yeah.
Sorry, it turns out the girl you like is an alien. We're just doing bits from Third Rock from the Sun now, so it's pretty cute so far. Like visually it's really cool. I like all the little bits they do where they like draw her really round or like chibi and that kind of thing.
I like the
really
art style because I mean, other than like the backdrop, sparkly whatever, like it's pretty straightforward art because a lot of the times it's like, wow, their eyeballs are way too big for their face, or like all the characters are wild looking in shoujo.
There's good little like visual bits, like the part like in that conversation where he learns that she admires him and isn't actually into him. Like there's sparkles in the background and then one of them hits him in the face.
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's
like, very good.
It has good humor for a show that's not the main intention of it.
Yeah. So, like, I'm a little concerned that this is going to get exhausting. I'm assuming it doesn't, because, like, they're going to have to get over this at a certain point. But all of the, like, romantic comedy anime stuff I've ever watched always gets exhausting at a point. And so I'm a little bit worried, but who knows? I mean, I'm pretty high on this so far.
Ooh. Yeah, it is cute. Kazehaya's cute.
Yeah.
Well, it's also nice to see two protagonists just with the black hair because, and it's become more of a thing where they actually acknowledge that these people are dyeing their hair because they're all Japanese and by default their hair is black. So, but it seems to be a common practice that people will dye their hair. But yeah, I feel like this is a nice way in which it makes sense that they both have the same hair color, but you don't assume that they're related. Like in that one show I showed you where it was the tall and short girl and guy.
Yeah. That's because they both had like non-standard hair.
Yeah, they both had like orange hair. He's pretty generic looking, and I guess she kind of is too. Like that's a pretty basic haircut she's got there. But yeah, I like the uniforms, like the color of the uniforms. Yeah, so that's Kimi Ni Todoke. Any final thoughts or guesses?
I feel like we kind of did a lot of the stuff in the show already. I mean, like, how much more are we going to be able to do with this, right? Because it's like, we already know they both like each other at this point. I don't think she fully understands what feelings are, so that's going to be a problem for her.
Yes.
But he's definitely into her. She's more or less already friends with Chizuru and Ayane, and I'm sure that's the arc that we're going to get.
I don't know. She's been talking shit about them. They're not going to like that.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't get resolved in, like, an instant.
Okay.
I don't know. And then I guess you have this jealous chick. So there'll be some stuff here, but
yeah.
I was gonna say like Sawako is gonna, I don't know. She's gonna have to be guided into like understanding civil interactions, I guess.
Yeah, well, we've got a long way to go.
Long way to go. I want to learn about Ryu, my boy.
You will. Luckily this show like does its side characters justice.
Okay,
so everyone gets
that's
like,
my
nice
main
time.
That's my man Ryu, some guy who steals other people's snacks and then falls asleep.
You didn't like Pin, the crazy ass teacher?
Their
or substitute teacher? Yeah.
It is very funny that he's like, why do I have to watch this romance comedy shit?
Yeah. From here, do you want to do our recommendations for the week?
Sure.
This one's gonna be for how like cutesy this episode's been. This is gonna be a fucking downer of a recommendation.
Okay.
Here I go. So yesterday and this morning, I was watching this documentary on Amazon Prime called Crush, which is 2 episodes, and it covers the incident and then the investigation of the Halloween of 2022. Oh
my god!
Crowd crush in Seoul, South Korea, that Itaewon district. Yeah, so I watched that because, as we've discussed in the past, I don't know, morbid fascination or just, I feel like there's not enough. There's a lot of true crime, but more like individual stuff. But it's interesting to see just kind of like negligence being the cause of. I don't know. I guess it counts as a crime. Well, like 159 people died. It's wild. And then, yeah, the second episode's like the investigation because I guess because they were getting calls way ahead of when this actually started happening, but nothing no one was like dispatched to do crowd control, which, you know, it's been demonstrated in the past for a place with such a dense population that they do have that ability to plan out and organize mass numbers of people. Well, it turns out that like after the incident, like 2 days after this whole thing went down, that those original reports of like it being received hours ahead of time were like destroyed. And so like the, you know, like kind of trying to cover their asses, and a few of the people involved, I think, like took their lives and stuff. So it's like big old like, whoa, wild, crazy. You know, some survivors and footage from it and stuff, because crowd crushes do happen. I think there's one that happened at like a Who concert in.
Yeah, they do happen. It's usually like a logistical thing, right?
It's almost always just the way it's run, or they're not properly keeping track of the number of people attending. There was one out like the Hillsborough
concert, right? Isn't that the famous one?
Oh yeah. Okay, see, all mine are like old references. Like Hillsborough, there's like a soccer match where hooliganism was so rampant that they put up metal fencing between the seating sections so that, you know, rival teams weren't like scuffling about in the crowds. And then they like didn't reinforce like tickets, and so more people came in, and then they ended up getting crushed against these little fences and trying to like climb out and stuff. It was wild. But yeah, so interesting. If you got a cavity from how sweet this Kimi Ni Todoke is, and you need something to bring you down from that high, check out Crush.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. Like I do remember like reading some stuff after that event happened about like how you can, well, they're like civil planners that can like look at the layout of things and be like, yeah, this is going to be a problem just by like, looking at it.
Well, it's because in particular, I mean, the district Itaewon is like younger folks, and where there's like bars and clubs and stuff. And this was the first Halloween post COVID that had like no restrictions. So it was like their first chance to really go all out and celebrate and stuff. So I think that like lent to the higher number of people than there would be normally.
It's just interesting to be like, oh yeah, this is a thing that's normally considered that wasn't considered here, and this is what led to it. But like, you can think of all the other venues where like, yeah, like this is like somebody's job to like look through and make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen. And it's just like one of those things that you don't think about that goes into like constructing an area.
Yes. Well, that's what I got. Have you got anything a bit more cheery?
So, well, it's not any more cheery.
Oh, damn.
Last week, Microsoft shut down a bunch of studios.
Oh, yes, that's right.
They don't understand. Who knows why?
We don't understand what they don't understand.
We don't understand. They made a profit, from what I understand, but, you know, who knows? Upper management just sucks.
Yeah.
Across the board. Every time. In every place. Anyway, one of the studios they shut down was Arcane, Austin. And they made a really good game in 2017 called Prey.
I've heard of that. It's like a horror sci-fi or something?
Yeah, it's like a space horror kind of thing. You are a person that is on a space station that has been overrun by this kind of like alien thing that they were experimenting on. That is an alien that can duplicate objects, so it's like it hides inside of objects, or like it makes itself appear like inanimate objects. And there's a couple other like aliens that show up later that are a little bit more like straightforward enemies and stuff like that. It is it's both a survival game, it is a immersive sim type game, so like there's a lot of things you can manage. There's a lot of, you know, specking out the kind of character you want to play. There's a point where you can get like some alien powers. There's a point where you can really invest in just like standard weaponry, or you can really get into like the technical aspect, like hacking stuff and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different ways to play it. There's a lot of different ways to like approach certain objectives you're trying to do, like how you're going to enter a room, how you're going to get through a hallway, that kind of thing. You know, are you going to do it really loudly? Are you going to go in shooting? Are you going to go, like, you're going to try to sneak around? Are you going to try to cause misdirection? That kind of thing. And it's like a really fascinating and fun sci-fi game. So if you like sci-fi horror-y kind of things, this game is excellent. And I think it's a good time to go visit. What is good? What is good that Microsoft cannot understand?
That sucks. God. I am very lucky to work at a game studio that's self-publishing.
Yeah.
It's a rarity. Yikes.
Sucks how everything that I like, everything that makes
everything
life fun,
you love just turns to shit. You gotta stop loving
it's like
things.
all the industries that produce things, like animation's going to shit, or like TV's going to shit because all the streaming stuff is like a garbage business model, it turns out. Comics have been shit for a long time. Video games has really taken a hit for what seems like no reason that I can really understand.
Yeah, they're not having to physically produce them, and they've increased the price. Jesus.
Anyway, tech companies suck. Tech companies are bad. Silicon Valley should burn to the ground. Anyway.
Apparently that's where I just learned this today. Apparently where I used to live in California was the part of the Silicon Valley.
Like San Jose or like where?
Yeah, San Jose. That's where I lived before we moved.
I visited there one time because my friend was living there. It just feels like a big suburb.
Well, I know our house straight up had like a overpass, like straight up on top of our backyard.
Like the worst vibes of
maybe
any
the only way we
been.
could afford a house with a pool in California. My grandma's also like a boss at this crane company, so she was like rocking it. And we had hometown buffet, which was like down the street. And I remember trying to like run away once, and I was like, we're just gonna live off the scraps from the dumpster of that buffet. The Silicon Valley. I have fond memories of my backyard there. And collecting ladybugs. Lots of bugs there to catch.
All right. Yep, so rate us if you're new, if you're listening to us for the first time, which maybe we should have framed this episode as if we had new listeners for a show that's new. But we didn't do that. You should rate us and subscribe. And also, if you want to read a comment, if you leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, I'll read it out loud.
And if you leave one on Spotify, I'll read it out loud.
There you go. And if you have if you have any questions or like you want to submit questions or comments about Kimi Ni Todoke, you can go ahead and send that to shoujopod@gmail.com, spelled the same as the title of the podcast. I eagerly await our first listener email. So, what's our sign-off for Kimi Ni Todoke going to be? In Angelic Layer, we were giving people life lessons. Because that show is about giving people life lessons through battling.
We're going to get fashion tips.
Fashion tip. Oh, that's good.
Okay. If you have a loose... It's all about, like, proportions, people. If you have a loose-fitting shirt and skirt, you want to have some kind of, like, division between them and, like, a little bit of shape. So tuck your damn shirt in. Good Lord.
Think about your silhouette. Try thinking about your silhouette.
Oh, yes. Very important. Also, with such long, pretty hair, you could do braids. You could do like cute little Serena buns. Lots of options. You look super cute in the bun.
Yeah.
Sawako.
It doesn't matter how pretty your hair is. If everybody's relating you to a sopping wet demon crawling out of a well, maybe you should change it up a little bit.
Okay. All right. We're ending this so I don't have to work that hard to edit it.
Wow.
So welcome back to all our friends and family who listen, and hopefully welcome new listeners without any ties to us who are genuinely here to listen to the podcast.
Why are you like, we're ending it now? Anyway, welcome everybody.
I don't know. It's really hard to end it.
Coming along, you keep talking. You said we're ending it, and then you went into a whole nother segment.
Okay, bye. I'm out of here.
Well, hold on. History on the studio that produced Kimi Ni Todoke.
Oh dear God. Know your exits, people. Just anything can happen. Like, remember, just because you went into the area of one place doesn't mean that's how you had to exit. Because I think people by instinct go out the exit, or wherever they came from is where they go, even if everyone else is doing the same thing and you're not going to get out. You gotta make sure you know all exit points.
I mean, I don't think it's
survive.
reasonable to expect that everybody would know the layout of the place they're in at all times.